What's up, guys? Welcome back to Red and Gold. Today, I am joined by my co-host. You already know him. You already know he's a knowledgeable Niners fan, knowledgeable FSU fan. Now, he's a credentialed media member for FSU. He's been going to the practices. He's basically the Grant Cohn of FSU
Oh, no, no, no.
football.
No, no,
But
that's too nice. I'm not quite there yet. I'm running my own quality control though, which I did steal that idea directly from Grant. Shout out to you, Grant. You're an awesome guy. He's a mensch, really. That's an old Jewish term, but no, man. Life's great. I'm graduating from college at the end of this month in about 17 days, which is scary to say out loud. I'm gonna be done with school for life, I think. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about the 49ers today, the debacle that is going on. And you know what? I will say I'm glad I'm doing the FSU coverage because it just distracted me from the complete tire fire that has been going on in the 49ers universe. And to me, I don't know about you, Amin, but the Jimmy Garoppolo thing and the whole debacle was bad. This is even worse what's starting to go on. And I have some real fears about the next steps that the 49ers are going to take. And I just don't know where this team is going. And in the past, I mean, we've discussed this before, right? I've disagreed with the team, but we could understand, or just fans in general, commentators, we thought what the team's thought process was. We can look at what they're doing and say, hey, maybe I don't agree with this, but I can at least understand what they're trying to accomplish. I would say right now, I have no idea what they are trying to accomplish. I do not agree with anything they're doing, and I don't think you can justify any of it. And that's what we're here to talk about today. To talk about that man, Deebo Samuel, getting his money, and he should. But we'll talk about that.
yep. Well, the Deebo debacle.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Deebo Samuel debacle. First off, Deebo a couple of days ago, Deebo deletes, his nine. He deletes his profile picture with the Niner, with him wearing the Niners uniform. He deletes all the posts with him in a Niners uniform at a Niners practice or in that Levi's. So basically, clears his whole Instagram of everything 49ers. Then he goes on and he puts on his Twitter that I want 20. If it ain't 25 million a year, I don't want it. So it's not looking good right now, particularly. And obviously, Deebo Samuel, he's also posting other pictures of him just living life, just like, having beer, living life, just kind of almost sending a message to the Niners that I'm living life while you guys are, sitting there worrying about me. I'm chilling. I don't care. I'm relaxing. I don't care. Right? So the whole Deebo Samuel debacle has been crazy. But what are your whole thoughts on the Deebo debacle? Because it's been going on for a couple of days now. Did not expect to hear this in the offseason. It's been the Jimmy Garoppolo saga, then turned into now the Deebo debacle. So, what are your whole thoughts on this?
My thought process is, what the hell? I don't understand what's going on. I mean, really, okay, I mean, let's play this from the 49ers perspective. I think they had a certain price in mind for Deebo Samuel that they wanted to pay, right? They probably aren't going to go over that. That's what they want to do. Then the market changes. Three of the top wide receivers get paid. And in fact, now, I think if you look at the highest paid receivers in the league, and I'm bringing that up as we speak, before this offseason, there was only a few guys really earning over $20 million annually per year. The one guy, or two guys, sorry, Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins. Now, if I look, there are one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, nine guys who are making more than $20 million a year. It was two going into this offseason. That is bad news for the 49ers because, I mean, just thinking about this, in simple terms, if you're the 49ers, paying Deebo Samuel ahead of time, getting ahead of this contract, paying him earlier rather than later down the line saves the money, right? I mean, that's just easy to figure out because all these receivers are going to get paid this offseason. And you know what? The other thing is that's going on. I mean, none of the receivers from Deebo's own class have even gotten their money yet. Guys like A.J. Brown, guys like Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, Deontay Johnson. You want to talk about the list of receivers who are about to get that bag? You thought, if you thought it was a lot already, it's gonna keep just going up and up and up. And I think the thing for me with this whole situation is, and I think Bay Area Baller said we shouldn't trip over this situation. I agree in the sense that the 49ers don't do contract extensions until right before training camp. I saw there was a tweet the other day where someone brought up, oh, Trent Williams, Jimmy Garoppolo. Look, they all signed, some of these players signed in March, but all those guys were free agents. All those guys were not on their rookie deals looking to be extended for the first time in their careers. And if you look at all the guys in the past who have been extended, George Kittle, Fred Warner, Eric Armstead, even. Well, I don't know about Armstead's timing, but if you think about Kittle and Warner, they were the highest paid at their position, which if Deebo's not going to be the highest paid, he's going to be damn near at the top, right? He's going to be top 5. So I'm not tripping in the sense that I think this situation will play out over time, right? This will get done at some point. And if it's gonna get done, it's not gonna get done until like August, September. And I know fans don't want to hear that, but that's just the reality of how these contract extensions go. The 49ers are going to squeeze every single dollar out of it. We saw what Jimmy Ward said about Parag Marathe. He is the ultimate negotiator. Why do you think he's employed with the Niners for so long? So I'm not completely losing my mind just yet. But I think the worrying thing is that the 49ers are stuck in their ways, right? They are not going to jump the gun with this situation. They don't want to get ahead of it. They're going to let it play out because they think they know best. I don't think they do. And I'm not saying I'm smarter than an NFL team, but I'm saying the longer Deebo Samuel waits, the higher and higher that price tag goes.
More receivers get paid, right? Like, let's say the Niners signed Deebo before free agency, right? Because we know Deebo coming into the year, he wanted a contract. Coming into the offseason, he wanted a new contract. And the Niners paid him before Christian Kirk caught his bag, or before, Tyreek Hill became the highest paid receiver, or even Devontae Adams, right? I think Devontae Adams also got his bag, also, if I remember correctly. But, like, if the Niners did that before, they wouldn't have to pay as much. But since Christian Kirk got his bag, and we're all like, Christian Kirk, $84 million, what the heck? He doesn't deserve $84 million. That's a lot, Jaguars, right? And then the next week, Tyreek gets paid, and then Devontae Adams also gets the bag, right? Then, of course, Deebo could be like, Deebo also has the upper hand in negotiations, because Deebo's like, he could say in negotiations, I do more than those guys, right? I'm used as a running back and a thing, so shouldn't I get more money?
And you could argue that Deebo is younger than those guys, right? And the idea is that at some, like, you expect Deebo to keep progressing, or at least for the next 2 or 3 years. If he's not going to be better than he was this past year, he will be at least at that level. How much longer do you think Tyreek Hill is going to be able to rely on his speed? I'm not saying he's going to fall off a cliff or anything, but you just don't know what's going to happen with that. And that's a fair question with Deebo as well. But I think when you're betting on these receivers, getting ahead of it is better. I just want to read off this comment though, real quick. I want to see what Bayer Baller's saying. He said he disagrees with me. He thinks we need to cut Jimmy, front load the Deebo deal, and it will help out the cap situation in the future. I don't disagree with that. I think that's a good idea too. But to me, the front loading, the back loading of the deal, that's kind of semantics at this point. And honestly, the 49ers don't front load deals. That's just not what they do.
All the time. Eric Armstead backloaded deal. D Ford also a backloaded deal. Like, they don't.
The one deal they did front load, Jimmy Garoppolo. So in some sense, like I in terms of the structure of Deebo's contract moving forward, to me the biggest thing we're going to be looking at, and I know Jose Sanchez has been all over this, credit to him because he was really the first to get out in front of this. The fully guaranteed money is what's key, and I'm looking at over the cap right now, looking at total guarantees for new wide receiver money, or just the highest paid guys. Stephon Diggs, $70 million total guaranteed, $72 million. Tyreek Hill, fully guaranteed, $65 million. Devontae Adams, fully guaranteed. So for Deebo Samuel, he might be at $25 million average annual per year. that doesn't necessarily matter. Like the average annual per year number is really what the agents care about because when they report well, yeah, maybe not Adam Schefter anymore. Ian Rappaport, let's say, reports it, and you see the contract come out, you see the total number. That's not how much money they're getting paid. It's all about the fully guarantees. And for Deebo, if he wants to be called the highest paid wide receiver, I'm sure the 49ers are willing to structure a deal in a way where he gets a lot of money, right? But I, I I just think the fully guarantee is the thing that he cares about the most, and it's the thing the team will probably care about the most, and the thing they're probably fighting over right now in terms of the average annual number. That's just all semantics because really with these guys, if you're doing a 4 or 5 year deal with Debo, let's call it 4 years, right? You let's say 4 years, $100 million. 25 per year, just as round numbers. Let's say 60 million guaranteed. That means that essentially the first 3 years of his deal are fully guaranteed, or the first two and a half or so, with that third year being less guarantees. That's the important thing here for a guy like Debo. And I understand what Barry Baller is saying. And you know what? I agree with him. They probably should front load it. That's just not what the 49ers do. And as much as I think they should do one
49ers.
thing,
It's
right,
not.
yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing. I think people have great ideas, and I'm not saying that I'm not saying that other people know how to run the 49ers better, but you just have to look at their past history. Their what they've done in terms of contract extensions, contract negotiations before. Um they've always backloaded deals, and I don't agree with that personally. And if you know what, go look at DeForest Buckner's contract with the Colts. It's front loaded, and you know what? That's probably part of the reason why he's there right now. But in terms of this whole Deebo debacle, where they're at with it, to me, this is just the preliminary negotiations. You got a lot more time to go. And what's interesting to me, and we'll certainly discuss this. I don't want to dive full into it right now because I want to talk about Tebow a little more, but no one's talking about Nick Bosa. No one. I mean, whoa, everyone's focused on Deebo Samuel. Oh, how much money does he want to get paid? People are saying he's greedy. People are saying he's being a diva on social media. And mum's the word from Nick Bosa. So it's just interesting the dichotomy of those two guys, the difference between them. It's kind of how they are as players, right? Nick Bosa's just a quiet, reserved guy. He's not an in-your-face type of dude. Deebo Samuel is I don't want to call him aggressive, right? But he became the leader of the team in some sense. I mean, right? Do you think I'm wrong to say that? Because in terms of leadership, I mean, when you look at the way in terms of the offense, the way it was handled this year,
Yeah.
Deebo was the driving force behind this offense. And you know what? 49er minded, you're absolutely right. Let's get Amin the Dream to 1,000 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe to the channel down below. Drop the like button. Will Smith that like button if you want to. Uh, and support my guy, Amin, because he's trying to get to 1,000. I know he's getting closer and closer, so make sure you
Appreciate that.
subscribe.
Appreciate.
Do I have new
Well,
contacts? Wait, no, I want to answer this. Sorry, I'm taking over the show. 49er minded asking me if I have new contacts. No, I don't. I'm flying blind right now.
well, you know what? Instead of subscribing to me, also subscribe to me, but also subscribe to CarCast. He's also my age. 15-year-old name is Garthic. He's also an Iron content creator. So get him to 100 subscribers. Get Baller to 1K. Baller's, I think, 100 away from 1K. So subscribe to Barry Baller if you haven't already.
Man, and you know what? Shout out to my guy Barry, a baller, because we really started streaming together. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but the first stream I did, I was on Jesse's channel. With oh my gosh,
with Baller, and I think I forgot who else was with Sam,
Sam,
Niner
Sam,
Sam.
Niner
Yep.
Sam. Yeah, wow. That's
That's
such
a long
a
time ago. That was a
that's
really long time ago. And then lastly, subscribe to 49er Minded. He has one of the best theme songs. Okay, you go and tap into one of his show. You already hyped after the intro and you're ready to go. So go subscribe to all those guys' channels. Go get Bar to 1K. Go get 49er Minded to 1K. And go get Karthik to Carcast to 100 subscribers if you haven't already. Go show all these guys some love. The Deebo debacle I mean, like we said before, the Niners should have tried to pay Deebo beforehand, so that way, that way it wouldn't be as expensive. And personally, I don't necessarily like. I'm not mad at Deebo for what he did, like deleting all those Instagram posts and things like that. But personally, I don't like that, or I'm like, all right, like I could have lived without you not doing that. But we'll dive right into it a little bit later because our next topic is should the 49ers pay or trade Deebo?
Let me put it to you this way. How's the best way I can really say this? Unless a team offers you, like, if the Dolphins offer you Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, take it. Otherwise, I don't care. Do not trade Deebo Samuel under any circumstances. And it's for this exact reason. I mean, it's because the wide receiver position has gotten so important in the NFL. And I think there are a lot of people looking at what's happening with the NFL draft specifically, and they're saying, hey, look at what the Chiefs did. Look what the Packers did. They traded away their star receivers. They're going to load back up in this receiver-rich draft. Problem with that line of thinking when you apply it to the 49ers is they don't have Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes.
They don't have that. And on top of that, like, that's the thing, right? The thing about trading Deebo is that I agree with you, right? I would trade Deebo if you can get another player, especially another good receiver. Like, if you could get Jalen Waddle or like Tyreek, or you could get,
like Jalen Ramsey or something like that, right? Like like an all-pro level player at a very important
really
position.
Good player back, I wouldn't be upset, right? But the thing about I have is that, like, okay, the Jets offer you the 2 first-round draft picks or 3 first-round draft picks. My biggest issue is I am a little bit concerned about because there's also a report that Deebo wants to be the highest non-quarterback in the NFL. Right, I don't think the Niners are going to do that, but at the same time, right, giving Deebo this money, the only concern that I have is just look, right, Jimmy Garoppolo, you gave him the back, he gets hurt, right? You look at George Kittle also an all-star, amazing tight end. All Niners fans are losing their minds over how good George Kittle had a great season in 2019, and then what happens the next year? George Kittle gets hurt, and the year after that, George Kittle's also hurt, right? And with Deebo Samuel had a great year this year. I'm not going to take that away from him, but at the same time, Deebo Samuel is an injury-prone player still. Deebo Samuel hasn't had one full year where he hasn't missed a whole single game. Deebo Samuel missed 2 games this year, right? So even in his best season, he still missed 2 games for the Niners. So, like, and even as a play style,
that is really the one concern. I mean,
that is the biggest concern. Right, like,
but do you even have a concern outside of that? Because for me, that is the one thing that would hold me back from this. I don't think there's anything else.
Outside of that, right? Like, if Deebo played 17 games a season and he was always healthy, right? And he was healthy for majority out of his 3 years, he was at least healthy and played 30 games, I would be fine with it, right? But at the same time, like, I'm kind of in the sense where, like, truth says I'm leaning towards the trade him side. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be against trading him, but
I would be. And I'll tell you,
for the picks is concerning, right? Because I don't know if the Niners would hit on those picks, but at the same time, giving Deebo like a $75-80 million guaranteed contract is kind of tough for me, only because of injury history. We saw how with Kittle and Deebo, both Kittle and Deebo's play style is similar.
That's
right.
Fair.
And Deebo gets used so much. If he gets used the same way that he does next year, right, and he gets used as running back, who says he's not going to get injured? Just the way Deebo's willing to put his shoulder down and, try to truck people. Deebo's not going to, run out of bounds. You're like, no, Deebo's a physical player. So that also increases his chance of getting injured. So it's kind of tough, right? Because I wouldn't trade Deebo for picks. But at the same time, if I could get a good all-pro or Pro Bowl or amazing player in return, right, or another great receiver, I wouldn't be against it because Deebo Samuel and his injury history and Deebo Samuel, I don't know if I'm willing to bet that Deebo Samuel can stay healthy for their next 2 or 3 seasons, especially if he's getting like $75 million guaranteed, right? And for the Bills, like teams like the Bills or the Raiders or, the Dolphins, it wasn't hard. It wasn't like, should we do it, should we not? Because Tyreek Hill, not injury prone. Stephon Diggs, not injury prone, right? So it's like for those teams, they're willing to dish out that money. I'm not saying the Niners aren't willing, but it was easier for them because those guys usually go in season in and season out, playing 17 games a season and being healthy for the majority of the season. Or with Deebo, even this year, like I said, he missed 2 games, and who knows what'll happen the year after that and the year after that. Especially if you give Deebo the bag, who knows? Would Deebo get hurt week 2 or week 3, and then Deebo is out for the remainder of the season? You don't know, so
But
it's
that
kind
that
of
is
tough.
the
Tough.
that is the one concern. But the reason I err on the side of not trading him under any circumstances, pretty much. Like I said, if you get offered like some ridiculous package, you might have to take it. But I think for me, looking at what the 49ers did in both 2019 and 2021, specifically in the postseason, the reason they got as far as they did was not because of George Kittle, was not because of the run game. It wasn't because of Brandon Ayuk. It wasn't because of Jimmy Garoppolo. We know that. It wasn't necessarily even because, well, the defense did play a big part. But
It was the Deebo.
it was Deebo. Deebo dragged this team in the playoffs. And when we're talking about value for players, and I don't want to say overpaying, but paying top of the end market, you need that ultimate difference maker. And that's what Deebo Samuel is. Not just is he the ultimate difference maker. I mean, he is a one of one football player. There is no comparison for Deebo Samuel, no historical precedent for what Deebo Samuel is doing, even in 2019, right? To a certain extent. But when I think about football and building your team and the salary cap management, the risk you're taking on Deebo Samuel is worth it to me in the sense that the product you get when he is available is as good as it gets. And he could be the reason why you could win a Super Bowl. And when you're building your offense, that's what's most important to me. You have that ultimate difference maker. And if you look in the NFL right now with all the playmakers there are, having an offense with just Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle, sorry, it's not good enough. It just isn't. I mean, I think 49ers fans are like have this idea that they'll be fine. Not fine without Deebo Samuel, but they could still produce a lot. I disagree. I mean, how many games do you think the 49ers win last year if Deebo doesn't play a single game?
They would have made the playoffs. They'd probably won like 6 or 7 games after, straight up. Like no.
That's the answer to the question for me. How much of a difference maker are you? And I understand the injury concern and the risk you're taking because it is a risk. But to me, that risk is worth it for Debo
If
specifically.
Deebo, if it pays off, right? Like obviously, if it pays off, it's worth
But
it. But
but
that's
but that's all
right.
projection. I mean, right? You're taking a risk no matter what. So in my mind, risking away trading him, that's what I'm saying, versus just paying him. I would take the risk of paying him because the reward of trading him away, the ceiling is not as high because you're just getting draft picks back. And I'm sorry, but the reason the Jets want to trade for Deebo Samuel is because there's no receiver that is even close to what Jamar Chase was last year. It's what even Devontae Smith would have been. I think their best receiver for a lot of people is Jameson Williams right now, and he just tore his ACL. He's not going to be available. I, I just think for me, when I'm building my football franchise, when I look at the window of opportunity the 49ers have, and we've talked about this before, I mean, right? The window is the important part. A year to year basis, you never know what's going to happen. So, maximizing the Super Bowl window you have is the most important thing. And to me, Deebo Samuel is a part of that Super Bowl window. And if you're trading him away, you're telling me that you don't want to compete. That's how I would take that.
I mean, I wouldn't take it like that. I would just take it like, all right, they were either too far off on negotiations, or they just were like, okay, we're not willing to take that risk
But
again.
but the reason I say that, Amin, is because with the timeline you're on with Trey Lance, he needs to be successful right away. Think about the amount of pressure they put on Trey Lance to be elite, not only eventually, but right now. I mean, they traded the Deshaun Watson package for him. They traded a boatload of picks, and I just with the advantage that the rookie deal gives you, they already wasted a year of having a quarterback on a cheap deal, which is the whole point of drafting a rookie. And if you're going to trade up all those picks, you know what the one way you can justify it is you say, you know what, we spent a lot of draft capital, but guess what? We're spending a lot less on the quarterback position. That's not true for the 49ers. They are handicapping themselves by doing this. And for Trey Lance, they've set him up in a way where he needs to be so elite right away in the
Yep.
span of his rookie deal that if it doesn't work out by year 4, year 5, they're going to have to pay Trey Lance so much money that they can't be as competitive as they were the prior few years. So for me, it's all about maximizing this window. And I just think I just think Deebo Samuel's a part of that. And if you're trading Deebo Samuel, you have to get a player who can be as impactful as him right now. We're not
There
going to
is
get
no
that.
player. There is no player that would be as impactful for the Niners. It
No,
wouldn't
but
be.
but but I'm saying as an all pro level
Yeah. Oh yeah.
receiver.
Obviously,
If you
like
could get
yes,
an
you
all
get.
pro level receiver, great. Do the deal. I am fine with that. But trading for unproven commodities with the idea that that's a value play for Deebo Samuel is stupid because you guys have went all in to go win with Trey Lance right now, and you have to wait
I mean,
for those players to develop by the
yeah,
time Trey Lance is getting paid
yeah.
$40 million. And then you know what? It's pointless. And you're not competing for a Super Bowl. I'm
The
sorry.
the reason I wouldn't do it for picks is because the Niners just don't hit on first round draft picks, right? Like I could see the Niners like drafting, you know what? Like even Jameson Williams, right? Like Jameson Williams, and he had tore his ACL, and he would never be the same after in the NFL. But the Niners still took him. Just how with Kinlaw, right? Kinlaw had those knee concerns, but then the Niners like, all right, we'll draft a replacement. We're smart. We'll draft a replacement for Buckner, even though nobody can, fill in the shoes that Buckner, filled, right? So like, okay, yeah, we'll draft him, even though he has knee issues. I mean, it's tough, right? I'm kind of leaning toward the trade Deebo. Do I think the Niners would trade Deebo? No, I think they would give his money, but at the same time, like it's kind of tough because we've seen the way these things have gone, especially in the last couple of years. You gave Kittle the bag, Kittle gets hurt. You gave Jimmy Garoppolo the bag, Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt, right? And Jimmy at first was like, all right, Jimmy gets hurt, and then Jimmy just became an injury-prone player. But Kittle, his first 2 seasons, wouldn't get hurt. Kittle would play majority of the games. He was so impactful. Just how we were sitting in 2019 talking about Kittle. Kittle is such an impactful player. And there was games where he would put up 200 yards, and there was a game against
No,
Denver,
I
and he
totally
was balling out, and he gets hurt the next 2 seasons, right? So I
right.
could see that with Deebo. I could see that with Deebo.
And I
All
don't
right,
disagree with you, Amin, but I just want to play devil's advocate for a second. I would argue that maybe, and I'm not saying this absolutely, but just thinking this out loud, for Deebo Samuel, with all the injuries he's had, he has been injured. But what if he isn't injured? That's kind of the thing. If anything, you think about this. I mean, if you pay him the money and he's as injured, let's say the next 3 years look like the past 3 years in terms of games played. That's one major year you're missing, and that's two excellent playoff runs. I think for the money, that's worth it. If we're talking about a catastrophic injury, you're right. If he tears his ACL, something like that, I think you're absolutely spot on. But also, Deebo hasn't had those injury issues. He just hasn't, right? He's had hamstrings. He broke his foot.
he broke his foot practicing in the offseason.
No, but I mean, the reason something like that happens is because Deebo Samuel is such a powerful force with his body. That's why he pulls his groin. That's why he pulls his hamstring, because he's too fast for the body he's in, like quite literally. So when I think about it from the opposite of like a Nick Bosa, who we'll talk about the difference between those
Yeah.
two. Nick Bosa tore his ACL. Nick Bosa had core muscle injuries. He had core muscle surgery. I think, to me, I would much rather trade Nick Bosa. I mean, we could get into it. Like, I don't even question it, actually. And I think I think 98% of 49ers fans would call me insane. But 10 out of 10 times, I would rather trade Nick Bosa at this moment in time than Deebo Samuel. And you know why? I mean, it's because you could get even more for Nick Bosa than you could get for Deebo Samuel, right?
I mean,
You could absolutely get
you could get assets for Nick Bosa, but to say that you can get more assets,
I don't even question that. I think
Deebo, you
yep,
just talked about the impact that Deebo Samuel had.
of course, but the NFL,
so of course,
but I mean,
Deebo
the
would bring
NFL
more.
still values pass rushers to a certain extent, and to get a pass rush, you know what they're gonna say is they're gonna say pass rushers play for 10, 15 years, wide receivers play
You
for
know how
8.
many pass rushers are in the draft this year? Just how you brought up the receivers. We have Aiden Hutchinson. We have Kayvon Thibodeau. There's a bunch of pass rushers in the draft this year that are Jermaine Johnson from FSU, right? So
None of those guys are on Nick Bosa's level, though.
none of those guys are Nick Bosa's level, but at the same time, every year,
Nick
every
Bosa would
single
be
year
the
you
number
get
one. Nick Bosa would be the number one overall pick in this draft.
probably, but every single year there's at least one or two, if not more, good defensive ends There's not one player like you brought up that has Deebo's impact that can do what Deebo does. And I remember listening on during the offseason, DK Metcalf on an interview, and he was like, "I would never do what Deebo does. Like I would never be willing to play that. I would never want to be running back. I would never want to do what Deebo Samuel does." So right, so Deebo gives you that flexibility of doing that. So I wouldn't say that Nick Bosa would give you more assets because like there are Aiden Hutchinsons and Kayvon Thibodeau's in the draft every single year. There's a bunch of those guys.
I mean, but
With
I'm saying
receivers,
I mean, I'm just saying I think the league would give up more assets for Nick Bosa just because of the way the league thinks. It's they're not the league is still a little behind on some of these things. And in terms of playmakers, they're getting paid a lot of money and they're giving up picks, but I'm telling you, I'm 100% sure Nick Bosa would fetch you more than Deebo Samuel. It's because of the position he plays and because of the longevity of the position. Even though we think Nick Bosa is an injury-prone player, a team trading for Deebo will think, hey, we'll have him for the next 4 or 5 years, see what happens after that. Maybe we extend it, probably not. If a team is trading for Nick Bosa, they're thinking they're getting him for the next 10 or 15 years.
you could have Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau for longer. Just saying, right? Because they're coming into the league just now.
But I want to look up Nick Bosa's age too, because I mean, dude, we're talking about a guy who like it.
I think he's like 22 or 24. I don't
He's
remember.
24. He's 24. So
I mean, I don't know. I disagree a little bit. It's debatable. I would say Deebo gets more assets if the team were to trade for him.
I'm telling you.
With the amount of DNs and defensive linemen that come out in the draft every year, like there's not
but Amin, also think about how the NFL values those guys, right? The NFL values receivers very highly, and you know what? They're catching up with where their value is at the receiver position. But pass rusher is still the second most important position in the league if you ask 32 out of 32 GMs. After quarterback, the most important position is defensive end. And no guy has been more productive than Nick Bosa is at the highest level at the age of 24. I just think teams would be way more willing to bet on Nick Bosa and the longevity of the position rather than trading for 3 or 4 years of Deebo Samuel, even as fantastic as he is.
With the longevity of the position, yes, but like same thing with Nick Bosa. Tore the ACL, had some issues in college, and I'm not saying he bounced back this year for sure.
Yeah, but people don't have those same questions about him. I mean, is true.
That's just me personally. Like
no, I think you're right. I mean, and I agree with you actually. But I'm telling you, the way the league looks at these things, we're gonna look at what a guy like Deebo deals with on a yearly basis. You mentioned it yourself. He has not completed a full year, right? Yeah. So,
just the way I personally look at it, is if I can get an Aiden Hutchinson, right? If I'm a team and I'm in the draft, right? I'm like, let's say I'm Detroit or I'm like a top 3 team, get a top 3 pick in the draft. I'm Detroit or whatever, Jacksonville, right? And I could select a Kayvon Thibodeau or an Aiden Hutchinson, right? Who hasn't been hurt, who is younger, right? And who hasn't been hurt yet before or hasn't had a major injury like Nick Bosa already torn his ACL, right? I would say I could get that guy. Why would I want to give up assets for Nick Bosa, who could have the longevity of 10 to 15 years, but at the same time, he has been hurt before and it's been a major injury, right? So, and Nick Bosa definitely bounced back, but the impact that Deebo has. So, guys like Nick Bosa are not easy to replace.
I would say Deebo Samuel's harder to replace.
Deebo Samuel's definitely harder to replace because they're like we said, like there's a bunch of DNs in the draft.
It's not even that, I mean. You know what it is? It's from the 49ers perspective. Let's put some context behind it. Who do you think would be harder for the team to replace? I'm sorry, it's Deebo Samuel because they've proven they can bring in defensive linemen. They can produce with Chris Kosaric. That is their bread and butter. They can produce a top-flight defense without Nick Bosa. They proved it.
Kerry Hyder Jr.
They do it every single year, and that's what they should do. And you know what? For me, I have a bigger issue with paying 2 defensive linemen $50 million than I do paying one receiver $30 million. And that's what we're talking about if we're paying Nick Bosa.
I wouldn't say Arden Key and those guys are on Nick Bosa's level, but Nick Bosa would be hard to replace. But yes, Deebo Samuel is obviously harder to replace.
No question.
Because of Deebo does, right? Like if we didn't have Deebo this year straight up, this team would have made the playoffs. This team would have been probably.
Oh yeah.
They'll probably be like 1 game, maybe 2 games Morgan would have won 2 more games maybe than Seattle, if not been forced. Because with Deebo, there were some games this season where the offense would just straight up be trash, and the offense could get nothing going, and then Deebo would take like a little screen pass, and he would take it to the house. And we're like, Deebo Samuel, wow, right? But you know, we'll see what happens in these situations. With Nick Bosa and with Deebo, how much they'll get, if they'll get traded, who knows?
It's
But
gonna be interesting.
the chat has been talking about defensive end new signing Kimoko Ture, I think, right? Kimoko Ture, new defense. We already got some Chaz Baller. Do you like him, or is he just a depth piece? Baller said, "I'm really excited about Ture. He had his best year in the NFL last season. He can get after the QB." So
Yeah, I'm looking up some of his. I'm trying to look up some of his PFF stuff right now. I'm struggling spelling his name, but I honestly had no idea who this was before today. If I'm being like brutally honest, like I just did not know who this was. And I'm looking up his pressures right now. Okay, so he finished the season with 22 pressures. That's pretty good on about 224.
he could be the new Arden Key, maybe. Like, he could be, not in the sense of Arden Key, but he could be the breakout player, like the one guy that Niners fans didn't know much about, and then he comes out and Niners fans start to recognize him throughout the season. We're like, okay, this guy's actually not bad. This guy's actually pretty good.
Yeah, well, and I love your voice cracks right there. I mean, and I think for a guy like this that they're bringing in, uh, I just say, and Chris Kosaric, we trust, man. Whoever he wants to go get Hassan Ridgeway, for all these different types of guys, trust Chris Kosaric. If he wants him, he's the right guy. That's end of the story for me. It's pretty simple. It's like Bobby Turner with the running back position. I just trust these guys.
And Bobby Turner, both Bobby Turner and Chris Kosaric. If Chris Kosaric's gone, or he ever leaves the Niners, that would be huge for the Niners. That would be a huge loss for the Niners, because there's not one. I don't know if there's any defensive end or defensive line coach that does what Chris Kosaric does. Because Chris Kosaric, every single year, he turns a guy who is less known, who not that many people know about.
He gets him paid every year.
Yeah, and then he turns him into like something. Who turns him into a solid defensive end or a solid defensive tackle. Like, I need, and they produce, right? Even Kerry Hyder, right? Kerry Hyder went to Seattle, and what did Kerry Hyder do? Nothing. So, yeah.
This is a good. It's a good signing. It's a good signing. And at the end of the day, like I said, I don't care who this guy is. If Chris Kosaric wants him, he's the right guy for the 49ers. And
Chris Kosaric will make it work. Chris Kosaric will make it work, straight up.
Absolutely. And I think for them, it's important to have waves of guys, right? That's the most important thing for this team, especially getting late into the season. Swan Song, I think you might have something there. Maybe a veteran minimum contract, but you know what? Veteran minimum contract is a nice chunk of change for sure. So, hey, Chris Kosaric he could probably turn Amin into a premier pass rusher in the NFL. I mean,
I ain't trying to get bodied by Trey Williams in practice, straight up, okay?
That would not be fun. That would be
like a 300-pound man. This okay, it would not be fun. I would not want to get pancaked.
No, that would be a terrible experience. Yeah, but hey, I mean, at the end of the day, slot corner type. That's funny. Swan Song. No, I just trust Chris Kosaric, man. Like, I don't know what else to say. I don't really, like I said, I don't really have the best information.
Chris Kosaric, we trust. The dollar bills, like, in God we trust. In Chris Kosaric, we trust. All right.
Someone should make that a T-shirt. I know Grant said he's coming out with merch at some point. I might text him about that. Let him know.
I would buy that T-shirt. I would definitely buy that T-shirt and wear that to the games. But John said I signed Deebo. Like, I think not trading, especially with all of these receivers we picked up in free agency. Notorious guy.
What receiver? Whoa. Go back. What receivers did they pick up in free agency? You're talking about Ray McCloud?
Ray McCloud is, elusive. He's fast. I can see the Niners using him more this year. Using him, and using Deebo less than what they did last year. I can see it. I'm not saying that he can replace what Deebo brings to the team, But I definitely could see Deebo's workload and doing like Deebo being used in the backfield a little bit less and having Ray McLeod in some of those situations. Just saying. That's just me. That's what I think.
They could use him. He's not going to be as effective as. I mean, I think the way I took this question was that if you take Deebo Samuel off the 49ers, what does the offense look like? Does not look good.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably wouldn't look good unless you get another good receiver.
I mean, all the signings they made pretty much besides the D line is like it's just it's like special teamers.
I like Ray McLeod. I mean, I'm surprised Tart isn't back. I mean, Tart is still a free agent. I mean,
Oh yeah, because
I feel like the Niners signed.
Talanoa Hufenga's really proven himself. That's what everyone will tell you. I
He's
mean,
a great,
Mr. Roscoe's, the USC fan.
He is a great safety. He's great at coverage. He's ridiculously great. He's better than Tart at coverage. Ben, ridiculously great.
Not gonna lie. I think the safeties I watch at Florida State are better in coverage than Talanoa Hufenga is, but that's not a very high bar, anyways.
No need to worry, Ben. No need to worry, Ben. You know the Niners have it covered. Okay, they think Talanoa Hufenga is going to be a great safety in this league. He is great at coverage. You know, which you pretty much have to be if you want to play the safety position, or at least solid at coverage. But he's none of those things. He's not even. He's basically the best. The way I would say it, he's basically how we call Mike McGlinchey mediocre at pass blocking. That's what he is at coverage. Okay.
No, he's worse than that. Honestly, like he is unplayable in my mind in coverage. Sorry,
he's really bad at coverage. He is really bad in coverage. Notorious Gas is Kyle Juszczyk a captain on the team yet? I
don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know either. He's honestly, I wouldn't mind if he was a captain. You know, he is a leader. All the teammates do like him on the team. John says Deebo evolved into who he is this past season because of our RBs got injured. Shanahan had to.
That's the thing that's the one thing that I will push back on when people say, hey, you can't pay a player that much, you're going to use that way. They're not going to use him that way, in my opinion. What they're going to do is they're going to make him into more of a true receiver because he's hamstrung by his freaking quarterback. Once he gets a guy who will throw him the ball downfield, Deebo Samuel's going to be more of a receiver, and they could still use him in situationally in that sort of way, right? But they're not going to be dumb with Deebo. And if, actually, I don't know. You know, this team has done a lot of questionable things in my mind. This team has done
a lot of things that I did not expect. You know, keeping Jimmy was obviously one of them. You know, that was definitely a huge one for me. Song actually likes to pick up. He says pass rush pressure percentages. Nick Bosa 15%, Jadavion Clowney 13.9%, and then Kimoko Torres 13.4%. So not bad. Solid pickup. I think he could be the next Arden Key / Kerry Hyder for the team.
Yeah, and he lined up. I was looking at some of his advanced stuff for the alignment, for positional alignment. He lined up 130 of his 225 snaps at right outside, and the other highest number is he lined up for 60 snaps at the left outside. And so more of an edge guy specifically. He doesn't really necessarily have interior experience. That's not where they're going to use him. So I see him as that other Samson Ebicom, if you want to say, that kind of situational pass rusher, that sort of thing.
I mean, I forgot about Ebicom, man. Like, I personally forgot about Ebicom. You brought in Kerry Hyder, you let Arden keep going, you bring in this guy, and then I'm like, Samson Ebicom? For a second, I had to think who that was.
Yeah, no, they got waves of guys.
Yeah, Chad's talking about Josh Hockett, backup, you know,
fullback. Josh Hockett. Not Hockett.
I don't know if he'll ever get a chance with the Niners. I really don't. You know, with Kyle Juszczyk, I really don't think he's gonna get that.
Honestly, I hope the Dolphins sign him because he deserves the chance.
They have Ingold. You know that, right? They have Alec Ingold.
They do. You're absolutely right. You're right.
Even if realistically, the teams
let the Jets sign him.
Jets. Most teams don't value fullbacks, and then the teams that do value fullbacks and that have fullbacks have like Alec Ingold, Patrick Ricard, Kyle Juszczyk.
Exactly.
Right. So, yeah, the teams that do value fullbacks have already pretty good ones. Shout out to Notorious Gavin.
I love Gavin, man. I feel like
Gavin
I haven't
always
seen
brings
you
the
in
energy, man.
forever.
Gavin is one of the nicest people you'll ever get to know, and he just has something about him. Okay, he has enthusiasm.
And
He's
I
just a
feel
really
like I don't see Gavin on I feel like I don't see Gavin on Twitter as much. Yeah, no, not the Jets. I'm sorry, Gavin. I was just throwing that out there because I want him to get an opportunity. That's what I'm saying, you know. But you know what, Gavin, hit me up on Twitter, man. It's been too long.
yeah.
Let's
I got
talk again.
yeah. I haven't heard from Gavin in a long time, man. I remember talking to him in the Discord a couple of times before.
For
So
sure.
shout out
No,
Gavin.
no,
Hopefully,
he's super active on Grant's Discord. But Gavin, go DM me on Twitter, my man. It's been too much. It's been too long. We need to talk about Kyle Juszczyk.
yeah, he is a huge Kyle Juszczyk fan. Mine is David Munoz and mine is Jimmy G and his limitation from the situation. He banked on short passes to Deebo.
Jimmy, wait, 1 second. Jimmy G and his limitations from the situation. He banked on. Yeah, I mean that's the thing we were just talking about. Deebo Samuel, you want to talk? I mean, people are like, "Oh, the running backs got hurt. That's why they use him as a gadget," which that's such a dumb word. But they use him as a quote unquote gadget guy. You know why they use him as a gadget guy? It's because of his freaking quarterback. Like, come on, man. Deebo is not used as a true receiver as he should be. And I'm sorry if he was on a team with a quarterback who could actually throw him the ball. Man, like I. Anyways, no, just keep moving on. That just frustrates me.
Don't curse my guy like that. Not the Jets.
Yeah, no. The Juszczyk should get a captain spot. I see what you're saying, Gavin.
I mean, I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't mind. Last topic of today, or not last topic of the show, because I will be back later on tonight. But
Make sure, yeah. I mean, before we start on the next topic, tell everyone what you're doing tonight and what time they can find it.
Well, tonight we'll be back. Tonight I'll be back with NDSU former radio host Chad Loomis, who was on Jesse's channel and on Niner Nate's channel. We will be talking about NDSU. We'll talk about Trey Lance a little bit. He'll give you some insight on Trey Lance and Christian Watson and those guys, because he knows, because he is a diehard NDSU fan. He knows some of the players. He knows some of their families. So he knows what he's talking about. So tune in, 9 p.m. PST, midnight if you are on the East Coast. That might be late for some of the East Coast people, but 9 o'clock PST if you want to tune. You want to get the insight on Trey Lance and Christian Watson and, just NDSU.
Oh, and I just saw this, Amin. Big signing for the Seahawks. They re-signed Geno Smith.
Yeah, Geno Smith. New signing quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks that'll lead them to the promised land.
Love it.
Yeah, he definitely knows his stuff. He definitely knows his stuff. Fun. And Barry Bonds' late night with Amin. Well, last topic of the day. Speaking of Trey Lance was, he's been posting video. We've been seeing videos all night, all off season of him working out and putting in that work. So that's obviously a good sign because I don't see Jimmy doing that ever. But there was a video that recently came out that Trey Lance was working out with Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, I think Ray McLeod, and some of the receivers. And that's a good sign, right? And personally, the way I look at it, it's like, that's what you need as a quarterback. That already shows that, all right, Trey Lance puts in the work. He has the work ethic. I love how bad just like.
Man, honestly, I mean, it's just been a long day, man. I'm struggling right now, but we're gonna make it to the end of this.
It's all good, man. But I mean, obviously, it's a good sign, right? Because if your quarterback is already reaching out to the receivers and he's already putting in the work with your receivers, that's great. And we saw it last offseason when Matthew Stafford came to LA, right? And then he started working out Cooper Kupp, and look at the connection that he had with him this season, right? So it's already a good sign that he's working out with the receiver. He's getting a feel of his receivers. He's getting to know them better and working out with them. And Trey Lance is already putting in the work, which shows you that, number one, the mentality that he has is he wants to be great, right? He's willing to put in that work, and he's willing to put in that work, and he wants to get better day in and day out. So that's great. That's just great. And I personally, it's definitely an upgrade because we haven't seen Jimmy do that. We haven't seen Jimmy. You don't see videos of Jimmy lifting weights or throwing around the football in the offseason, especially at the time of the Niners. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen one. So the
Jimmy's
fact
been
that
at
you
the
already
beach this offseason, apparently.
well, the fact that you already see Trey doing that, right? Outside of that one video, I think where Trey was on vacation with his brother, right? But outside of that, the fact that Trey Lance has been putting in the work, or Quincy Avery and putting in the work, I like that. That shows that Trey Lance is willing to put in the work and he wants to get better.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's good to see Trey Lance is doing what quarterbacks do in the off season.
Never again.
No.
Never again. You know, I'm not playing the Madden until like Madden 23 comes out, if not never, because Baller is just too much, man. Baller's like Kyle Shanahan on offense, okay? He'll start changing stuff, and then I'll have my like set defense, and then I'm like, all right, crap. And he'll have like one guy wide open, and I'm like, all right, cool. My safety wasn't there, or my corner wasn't guarding. It's just too much playing Baller, man. Baller will get like one possession touchdowns every time, and I'll have like this long drive where either I'll score. But one thing I realized against playing Baller is that I'll always have something unfortunate to me happen. Right? I'll have like Travis Kelce get the ball, and he'll take it, and he'll start fumbling, and then I'm like, what the hell? When does Travis Kelce fumble the ball? Like, when does Travis Kelce or like D-Hop? Like D-Hop will drop a wide open pass, and I'm like, DeAndre Hopkins, like D-Hop doesn't drop wide open passes. So unfortunate things happen to me when I play Barry Baller in Madden, but Barry Baller is low-key assault when I play Barry Baller, man. It is not fun. I'll get like one drive going, and then I'll get like one drive and I'll score a touchdown. I'm feeling good, and then the next couple of drives I just can't do nothing because Baller just adjusted and changes things. So Baller's really good at Madden, man.
Hey, and shout out Gavin. I play FIFA. I'm not good, but I play FIFA.
I don't play FIFA. I'm not a huge footballer. I personally just
Hey, it's football first of all. And
soccer. You know, we don't call it football. It's soccer. Yeah, it's fine. I just like.
no, we don't call it that. No, Gavin, I've been playing FIFA since like FIFA 14. My man, hit me up sometime.
I would love to see a game between you two on Twitch.tv.
Nah, man. Honestly, I used to be good at FIFA. I haven't been as active these last few years, especially in college. I was just like not good anymore, unfortunately.
Are you good at 2K or like Madden or no?
I'm really good at Mario Kart right now, actually. You know what? I will say I've maxed out all the single player stuff on Mario Kart 150 and 200cc, and then I started playing online because that got boring to me. I'm doing pretty well, not gonna lie. So I would say Mario Kart on the Switch. Oh, we might get Wales, Gavin. That's awesome. Hey, I'm all here. I know Gavin knows exactly what's going on with the World Cup, man. We're gonna run it back like 1776, USA versus England, man. It's exciting stuff. But also, I just want to mention, I'll shout out this too. I'm an F1 guy, Gavin. So I don't know if you are too. I know that's more a European thing. So, hit me in the DMs about some F1 stuff. I'm a Max guy.
Gavin is right. Baller is a Madden machine. Carcass says, I don't play FIFA. I play Rocket League Soccer. I mean, Rocket League is not bad. Rocket League.
No, I like Rocket League. Honestly, I was saying I was trash at those other games. Man, I am much worse at Rocket League.
I'm bad at Rocket League. I'm really bad. Like I'll get stuck to the wall and I'll like fall down upside down. I'm like, what the heck? What is going on? So I'm really bad at Rocket League. Ben said UC and USA might get Wales in the World Cup. Yep. And then Swan Song, last question of the day. If we had to rename American football to a more appropriate descriptive name, what would it be? Helmet to helmet sports. I don't know.
I don't know, man.
That's tough.
That's a tough one. Huh. I don't know. Actually, I don't really have a good answer. A descriptive name, maybe. Oh, you know what? You could call it future CTE.
I mean, I honestly don't have any idea. Like maybe helmet to helmet. I don't know, man. This is a tough question. This is probably the toughest question we've had to answer all our previous shows.
Dude, on any live stream I've ever done, I think I'm approaching myself about near close 100 live streams, I would say total in terms of all the stuff that I've done, and that is by far the hardest question I've ever gotten. I have no idea.
Yeah, I would probably say the same. But that basically wraps up the show. I appreciate you for joining me once again, Ben.
Ben Meyerson, sponsored by Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper. No, but I appreciate you for joining me, Ben.
Of
Me and
course.
Ben will be back in a couple of weeks. Ben is, has some busy stuff for the remainder of his weeks in college, so he
Yeah,
won't be
yeah,
able to.
well, and I guess I can let everyone know you're probably not gonna see me that much until the beginning of May because, May 1st, I graduate from college. So, I got a lot going on in life, a lot go no, thank you, I mean, I appreciate that.
Happy, hey, can we get some clapping emojis?
I can't kinda am fishing for the comments, so please tell me
Yeah, can we get some
congratulations.
clapping emojis for Ben, please? Just some clapping
No, no,
emojis.
no, no. I was just gonna say, yeah, man. And then obviously, like Amin was talking about, uh, with FSU football, I got a lot going on with that. I am working full time for SB Nation, with Florida State football, covering them. So a lot going on in life, but you'll see me talking about the 49ers soon. It's just got a lot going on. And you know what? If you want to see what I'm saying, go follow me on Twitter. I rant about that constantly. So yeah, you know,
Yes, get the claps in the chat. We already got
appreciate
some.
it.
Congrats, Ben. Be our scout. Congrats, Ben. So we already got some congratulations and some claps in the chat. Swan Song says FSU scout Ben Meyerson.
No, 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 not a scout. You call me a media member. I get
Crack code of
boys.
FSU football. He's already
Mm,
locking up.
No, no,
Uh,
that is way too complimentary. I'll get there one day, but for now, uh, mm, I don't know. I'm not gonna give myself any title. Someone else can if they want to.
well, that basically wraps the show. Like I said, if you haven't already, subscribe to Ben's channel. The link is in the
Oh,
description. He's been posting some FSU content. If you are an FSU football fan, which I know not that many people in the chat are, and I'm not a huge college football fan either. And if I was a college football fan, I personally wouldn't root for FSU because that's just me.
Amin
But
told me he would root for UF actually, which made me very angry. I'm not gonna lie, Amin. I did not.
Florida, yes, yes, the Gators or Oregon. I'm still deciding. Okay,
Oh,
either UF,
go for Oregon, dude.
Oregon only because their jerseys are just so clean. They probably have one of the best jerseys in
Yeah,
all of college football.
yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah, but either those two teams, I don't know. Yeah, man, college football. The thing about college football is like it's just too many new players coming in, new players leaving. It's just too. It's not.
Wait till you start applying to college, and then maybe figure out the team you want to root for. You know?
Yeah, maybe that's what I will do then. But
Yeah.
subscribe to Ben's channel if you haven't already. Go follow him on Twitter. Both the link is in the description. If you want to go check out some of his articles at Tomahawk Nation, the link is in the description to Tomahawk Nation.
Oh,
So go check out all his platforms. Go subscribe to his channel on YouTube. Go follow him on Twitter. Go check out his articles on Tomahawk Nation. Tomahawk Nation. The link is in the description. And go follow Tomahawk Nation if you haven't already on Twitter. Go show them some love. Also, if you're not subbed to my channel already, go do that. We're only 10 subscribers away from 600. So we definitely made some progress. We're only 10 away. 10 subscribers away from 600 subscribers. So if you haven't already, please do sub to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated. I will be back later on tonight, 9 p.m. PST, 12 a.m. EST, which I know is late. Be back with Chad Loomis, who is a former radio host at former radio host at NDSU.
please
We're
go
gonna be talking
watch
about
that, everyone. If you're
yeah,
watching this right now, you're either gonna watch that live or you're gonna have to watch it tomorrow. You know, if it's too
we're
late
gonna
for you,
be
but make
talking
sure you
about
watch it.
Trey Lance, Christian Watson. He knows his stuff about NDSU and those players. So we're definitely gonna be talking about all that good stuff tonight, 9 p.m. PST. Please make sure to tune in if you can. I appreciate everybody for watching. I appreciate you for joining me, Ben. Go Niners, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.